All right, everybody. So we're ready to get started on one of my favorite projects in Autodesk. In this project, we are going to record ourselves. And I remember a couple years ago, the first time I saw students drawing and recording themselves and then playing back the drawing as it grew. And my mind was blown. So I'm super excited that I can do it now in my Autodesk app. So we're going to do an ASMR style video using our recording. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the background color. We're going to be working on a dark background with some lighter values. To set your background color in Autodesk, if you look right over here on your layers panel on the right hand side, you notice that there's like a half square right down here. And there's a very light circle on the right side of that square. That'll set the background so that no matter what layer you're working on, they all have the same background color. So we're going to go ahead and click on that dot. And for our background color, like I said, we're using a dark color. So we're using black. And I know that black is the darkest value of any color. So I'm just going to take all the lightness right out of the color. I don't even have to worry about which one it is. Then I'm going to go ahead and click in the gray area to go ahead and close out that settings box. And now I'm ready to grab another really fun tool, and that is our symmetry tool. So if you look on this top toolbar, right in the middle, you see these two wiggly lines with a dotted line going down the middle. That's your symmetry tool. So you can go ahead and click on that tool, and you notice that it gives you quite a few different options when it comes to the type of symmetry that you're going to use. It gives you a vertical line of symmetry where anything on the right would be repeated on the left, a horizontal line of symmetry. But the most fun one here is this one right here. This is your Radial Symmetry tool, where it's going to repeat anything that I draw in one of these slices all the way around this central point, because that's what Radial Symmetry is. It's the same things all repeated around a central point. So that's what we'll be working with today, and we can decide how many sections we want in our radial symmetry by moving this little dot back and forth, and that's going to give us different effects when we go to fill in with our line. So now that I have my symmetry tool set, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lock it right in place. So now it's not going to move around when I go to do my drawing. That's using this little lock here, and I like Autodesk a lot because it's always repeating those icons so we know what they do. The next thing that we need to do is we need to pull out the brush that we're going to use. And if you guys have been following me, you know that my favorite brush is that inking pen. But I don't always like to use this brush panel over here on the left-hand side. I really like to use my double puck. So I'm going to click on this little white dot down here. That's my shortcut dot. Has all sorts of different little options for me. And this one with the oval and the two dark dots inside is my double puck. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that if I didn't already have my double puck out. And as you can see, there's my inking pen. It's already in there because I use it all the time. I really like the smooth, solid line it draws. So if you don't have your inking pen out, remember up here you can switch between settings of your brush or your library. So if you don't see all those brushes that just popped up when I tapped the top dot of my double puck, just go ahead and click on library and it'll show you all the different brush options that you have. Inking pen, right there in the Legacy collection. It's the second collection of brushes. And you notice I even have this pinned over here on the sidebar. And I'll be showing you how to pin your tools in a later video. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have that inking pen selected. And I'll go back to my settings side. This is going to allow me to adjust the size of my line. And I get a nice little preview right up here. For this project, I like to use thinner lines. I think that they gives us a little more detail and a really fun look. I also want my line opacity to be at 100%. So I don't want these lines to be see-through. If we begin to overlap lines that are transparent or see-through, we're going to have dark values in areas where we're not expecting them to be. So now that I have my brush set, my size is around 5 and my opacity is about 100, I'm going to click in the gray area to go ahead and get rid of that box. Now I need to start thinking about my color. And for this project, we're going to use just one color. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the bottom dot of my double puck. And I'm going to use the outer ring here to select which hue or which color I'm going to be using. I'll be using multiple values of that same color. So pick a color that you really like. I'm known for really liking pink, so I'm going to go ahead and choose my really hot bright pink here. Once I've selected my color, I want to be sure that it is totally saturated. So you can see here, I have this little circle and I have it pulled all the way over to this right hand corner. That's a full saturation of color. And you can check it down here. Here's your saturation bar, and that is all the way up. That means our color is going to be super bright. I'm going to go ahead and close out that. And now I'm ready to film. Once I hit this camera, it's going to film all of the marks and erasers and changes I do to the size of my screen. It's going to film everything except my tool selection. So that's a really cool part of this. Another thing is that you don't have to rush. It's going to tie this video together in a nice smooth fashion. So you can really take your time even after your video is on. So I'm going to go ahead and click the video, and I know that I'm recording when my video camera has turned white. It's even hard for you guys to see in the video now, but you see that little red dot. So that's usually our sign that we're recording. And now I get to use my fun symmetry tool. So I'm just going to take my finger or my stylus, and I'm going to start to move it back and forth around this central point. And I'm going to pull it to the middle. You can see radial symmetry is always, always awesome. Now I want to add some other values to give this a little bit more interest. And I don't even need to click on the bottom dot of my double puck because my double puck is a quick value selector. When I click and hold down on the bottom of my double puck, I can lighten the value or darken the value depending on the direction I drag my stylus. So if I want to lighten my value, which is what I would like to do for this project, I'm going to click and hold on that color portion of the double puck, and I'm going to gently drag upwards. And you can see my luminance is changing, and you can see my value is changing. So I want it to be a noticeable value change. And once I've achieved that, as soon as I pick up my stylus, it's going to autofill that double puck. That's why I like to pull it out of my shortcuts so much. And then I can go back in with my next value and go ahead and give this a second set of values. Once I get to that middle point, now I want to add white. White is the lightest value of all colors, so it's going to be a nice contrast to this middle value that I have, and it's also really easy to achieve by clicking, dragging upward on your double puck, no matter what color you've got, until your luminance is at 100. Just like black is the darkest value of every color, white is the lightest value. So I'm going to go ahead in and I'm going to add some white details here. So notice you don't have to make one continuous line. You can make some broken lines and it'll still repeat it around that central point. So I think I want one more set in here. Right in there. Now, if this wasn't interesting and cool enough, the next tool that I'm going to show you is the blending tool. And that's when it gets very relaxing and enjoyable to watch. So I'm going to click on the top of my double puck. That pulls up my settings for my brush, but also my library. So clicking on that library, I'm going to look back in my legacy collection and I'm going to look for the smudge pen. Now, I think this pen looks like a drill with a black handle. However, it's a tortillon or a blending stick. So anyone who's used one, you notice it's that wrapped paper that you smudge things with. So you're going to go ahead and select your smudging pen. You're going to click back over to settings and now you're going to see a lot of settings. So the first one we need to do is set our size. We don't want this to be too big or too small, so I'm going to go in the 25 to 30 range somewhere. That's going to let me blend a decent amount of this image because remember I'm working in radial symmetry, so it's going to repeat it around the outside edge but not over blend right away. If you have this all the way up, it's going to blend this entire thing quickly and we won't get that ASMR effect. So I'm going anywhere between 25 and 30 for my size. I want it to be working, so I'm going to go ahead and match that about 25 or 30 for the flow. So I want it to blend a little bit, but not just smooth it all together to a gray immediately. Then why not, for consistency, let's just go ahead and put the strength at 30. Again, I want to be able to blend back and forth a little bit because that's what gives it that effect of ASMR and relaxation. However, if I have that strength all the way up, it's going to blend it too quickly. So now that I have my smudge pen set, everything's in the 30 range with slight variations. I'll click in the gray area to get rid of it. And now I'm going to start to blend this together to a nice, smooth gray color. And that's when the magic happens. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to blend away the white. It's going to work its way down. But I don't need to follow any certain pattern. And I can blend my way back up And you can see I can really just kind of go with it. And as it begins to blend to a smoother set of values, you begin to see all these really cool subtleties happening. You can play with them and just do what looks good. Remember, this is about ASMR and just being interesting and fun to watch. And we're just going to keep blending until there's not much more to blend away. So keep varying your direction, going from vertical to horizontal until you reach that middle value. And once we're kind of blended all together, you don't see a lot of variation happening anymore. That's when we're going to go back up to this recording up here. Oh, there's the cuckoo clock. Perfect timing. I'm going to go ahead and click that again. Now I'm going to see the time-lapse image come up. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save that to my photo library. Now, I'm just going to find the home button on my iPad down here, and I'm going to click right at Autodesk. Remember, it auto-saves. I don't need to be worried. I just want to go see my ASMR video. So another thing to think about when you guys are working, and I apologize about the cuckoo clock, when you guys are working, saving your photos using Autodesk, you need to be sure that you're selecting photos and not Google Photos. So I always tell my students, Google Photos looks like a pinwheel and Photos looks like a flower. So go ahead and click the flower. So now you can see my photo roll. There's a lot of good stuff coming up in my videos, and right down here is my ASMR video. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So you can see it's strung this video together really, really nicely. There's no breaks in time like when I was doing it. And now you can see the real magic happens at the end with those smooth blends. And voila, you and your students have created some ASMR, and we all know that we could use that in this sort of tumultuous time that we are living. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Check back for more tomorrow.